No one at Gate 17 understood why the alarm sounded before the scream. 1 second, the airport glass crew was rolling a display panel across the polished floor. The next, it slipped, tilted, and came down with the weight of a falling wall. A Navy SEAL in full uniform stepped forward to shield a child in its path. Glass shattered, ribs crushed, breath stopped. No explosion, no gunfire, just an ordinary accident with lethal precision. He hit the ground, blood pooling under dress blues, air rattling out of a punctured lung. A volunteer doctor rushed in with confidence and froze the moment he saw the chest sink instead of rise. Passengers filmed. Security shouted for medkits they didn't have. Then a woman in commercial scrubs. The quiet nurse the boarding agent had kept waiting in line. Dropped beside him without asking permission. She didn't introduce herself. She didn't ask for space. She reached for duty-free wine bottles, cracked a seal, formed an airtight chest siphon, and vented his collapsing lung using instincts she wasn't supposed to have anymore. The SEAL's eyes flooded open, searching through shock, through pain, until they found her. His voice tore in a whisper only she could hear. "Commander, Rain, it's you." Phone stopped recording, not because of the injury, but because she was never meant to be seen again. Before we begin, do one small thing. Comment, "I'm watching," and subscribe. It tells the algorithm you want more stories of the quiet heroes who save lives when no one believes in them. The airport wasn't trained for silence. Not the kind that falls so hard and fast it suffocates crowds louder than jet engines. Gate 17 had been routine a minute earlier. Boarding calls, stroller wheels, a barista steam wand hissing behind glass. Then the cleaning crew shifted a fresh display panel across the polished concourse. Nothing unsafe, nothing dramatic, just an oversized pane of tempered glass, edges taped, handlers chatting as they rolled it past the Navy SEAL in full ceremonial dress, waiting for his flight connection. He wasn't on duty. He wasn't escorting state files. He wasn't armed. He was just a decorated operator headed to a veteran honor ceremony in California. And fate turned the hallway into a landing zone. The dolly wheel hit an uneven tile. The slab tilted just 3 degrees then 9 and came down like a falling wall. People screamed. Luggage toppled. Starbucks cups splashed across tile like gunfire ricochets. The SEAL didn't try to stop it. He tried to shield a child too close to the panel's drop zone. His pivot was clean, trained muscle memory. The glass shattered. A shard no wider than a hand caught him under the right ribline and disappeared inside the dress uniform. Not out, not across. In a silence heavy enough to crush breath hit the concourse. Then a woman shrieked as the commander's knees buckled. He hit tile on his side, hands searching blindly for air he couldn't pull. The blood wasn't cinematic. No spray, no spurt, just a dark trained leak into his metals and fabric. Quiet but deadly. A volunteer doctor dropped down beside him. Credentials visible on his badge lanyard. "I've got him." "Step back," he barked, confident. Sure. But confidence died the moment he saw the chest movement rising when exhaling, sinking when inhaling. Wrong direction, wrong pressure, wrong survival odds. Collapsed lung. But how? He muttered. Phones lifted. Security began yelling protocol codes that meant nothing to civilians. A baby cried. Someone said, Is he shot?" He wasn't. This was worse because panic didn't know what to name it. He clawed at the floor, drowning without water. The doctor pressed where he shouldn't, blinded by urgency instead of anatomy. And through every camera lens, every shaky live stream, every stunned bystander, she stepped in. Ava Hale, economy boarding pass, discount carry-on, Navy scrubs, civilian badge, rookie nurse heading home on a flight she almost missed. She didn't shout, she didn't rush, she simply arrived, moving through people who parted more from instinct than instruction. Her pulse stayed even as the SEAL's chest caved inward instead of lifting. "Stop compressions," she said, voice steady but not loud. The doctor bristled. "Excuse me, I'm the one with." She didn't answer him. She was already kneeling. Her eyes flicked once. Reading clavicle height. Rib angle. Breath resistance. Purpling lips. Right lung collapsed. Air trapped inside cavity. Death measured not in minutes but breaths. 2 wine bottles. She said to the attendant behind duty-free glass. "Calm plane." The attendant froze until Ava's eyes cut to her with surgical precision. She moved. Passengers gasped as Ava snapped the bottles. Not to drink, Not to sterilize in Hollywood fashion, just to use their shape, their seal, their negative pressure potential. She slid the doctor aside without force, just inevitability. You can't, he began. She already was. Hands gloved with speed quicker than training manuals ever allow. Not at dress uniform, angle against RI seal creation. Not blood everywhere, just enough to show the stakes. Her posture stayed straight, back aligned, shoulders low. Her breathing remained calmer than any civilian had ever seen on a terminal floor. Security leaned in. We have EMS inbound. 2 minutes. He doesn't have to, Ava replied. Neutral, mathematical. She vented the chest with improvised precision. The kind that isn't taught in nursing programs, but on desert floors under mortar smoke, in the back of tilted Humvees, in night air where medics count pulse by vibration. The SEAL gasped. The crowd jerked. The doctor recoiled. His eyes didn't scan her credentials. His eyes recognized her face. Commander, Rain, he croaked, voice cut in half. But true. Someone dropped a phone. Security stepped back as if they'd interfered with something sacred. She didn't flinch, didn't answer to the name she buried 3 years and 17 nights ago. Paramedics burst through the crowd. One looked at the glass, the siphon, the seal made from nothing but instinct and memory. That's, he stuttered. That's a battlefield thoracic release. Ava rose before anyone could hold her there as spectacle. Stabilize him upright 20 degrees. She instructed left side, not right. Don't remove the shard. The medic obeyed without asking why. The volunteer doctor stood pale, swallowing the taste of failure he hadn't expected at gate 17. Ava picked up her carry-on, wiped her gloves clean against sanitary tissue, and walked toward boarding like she had only stopped to tie a shoe. Security did not stop her. Travelers did not block her. Paramedics did not question her. The SEAL, breathing in shocked cadence, whispered again, only this time softer. You survived. Her eyes didn't turn back. Her boarding group hadn't even been called, but the gate agent didn't check passes when she approached. They simply stepped aside. No flight update sounded. No chatter returned. No one remembered their vacation or meeting or connection because everyone had just watched a quiet nurse silence death in an airport with 2 wine bottles and a voice no military ghost expects to hear again. Alarms beeped distant. Glass shards glinted under floodlights. Paramedics took over. Ava walked down the jet bridge, her identity intact but no longer invisible. And behind her, a man who once served under her command was alive again because she didn't stay buried. The flight door sealed. The Admiral was waiting on the other side. And the headlines she didn't want were already uploading. The flight leveled at cruising altitude before anyone dared break the silence that followed gate 17. Ava sat in 23A. Window cracked open to clouds she barely registered. Noise-cancelling hum, beverage cart clinking, seat belt signs blinking. It all sounded like background to something she'd already left behind but hadn't truly escaped. She hadn't washed the faint line of red from her scrub collar, partly because she boarded before anyone could hand her wipes, partly because she didn't want to acknowledge that she'd touched death in an airport again, and partly because she knew it would return whether she scrubbed it clean or not. 2 rows open. A businessman whispered too loudly on a call. Yeah, the SEAL collapsed. Not dead. Some nurse fixed him. No, listen. She snapped open bottles and I don't know, chest something. Just check the videos. Passengers pretended not to hear him, but every ear was tuned in. Ava closed her eyes. The plane wasn't quiet because of turbulence or fatigue. It was quiet because dozens of people had watched her perform a procedure that no civilian nurse should know how to do, let alone a rookie, let alone one with no trauma bag, no oxygen tank, no surgical tray. She kept breathing normally, slow, unbroken, as if her lungs had never been trained under desert altitude and artillery smoke. But she felt it, not panic, recognition. Someone coughed across the aisle. A child dropped a crayon. The flight resumed its illusion of normally. Then came the soft chime. Miss Hale, the captain requests a word. Ava opened her eyes, expecting a flight attendant to be beside her, but instead a uniformed air marshal filled the aisle. Calm posture, badge not displayed, but unmistakable. He spoke low, polite. This won't take long. She rose, carry-on untouched, hands steady, following him through the curtain to the galley jump seat area. No confrontation, no handcuffs, just professional containment. He folded his hands. You have no medical credential clearance with the airport, and yet you performed an invasive pressure release. Ava said nothing. He continued, tone neutral. Official passengers gave statements. TSA flagged them. Homeland Security wants to verify identity due to the techniques used. Techniques not trained in civilian medical curriculum. Still she waited. He inhaled carefully. You're not in trouble, but you're known. Not questioned, not doubted, known. Ava nodded once, a gesture not of confession, but acknowledgement. She's en route to the honor ceremony in San Diego. Came a voice behind them. It wasn't the flight attendant. It was the captain. He stepped in, paper in hand. Flight manifest in perfect alignment. Orders from the SEAL Admiral's office. He continued. She boarded under secure invitation. No more questions. The air marshal didn't argue. He simply stepped aside the way men do when they recognize they outrank only by badge, not by history. Ava returned to her seat without escort. Passengers stared, not rudely, but with the stunned respect of civilians who had witnessed someone step through two identities in less than 3 minutes. Nurse, then something else entirely. The beverage cart reached her row. The flight attendant's voice trembled. You were incredible back there at the gate. Ava offered a polite smile with no arrogance, no revelation. Anyone with training would have done the same. But the attendant shook her head, whispering, No, not like that. Ava accepted water, not wine. She had no reason to revisit technique outside necessity. News alerts began vibrating through the cabin. Unknown. Airport nurse saves Navy SEAL on camera woman identified as former military medic. Veterans comment, We know who she is. She ignored them, not out of pride. Out of history, but history wasn't finished. The overhead lights dimmed. The plane entered that strange half-silence only night flights and classified missions carry. A passenger approached her row. Grey suit, calm eyes, decorated lapel pin, barely visible under jacket fold. He didn't sit.